let's get right into it. Today, we're unlocking the creepy, weird, and sometimes downright gross origins of why humans decided to start leaving their shoes at the door. You thought it was just polite or about dirt? Nope, it's darker and way more entertaining than that. Prepare to feel weird about your sneakers. Number 9, death on your soles. Picture this. You just came home after a long day of stomping through your city's charming cocktail of pigeon poop, spit, oil slicks, and probably someone's dropped hot dog water. You plop down on the couch, shoes still on, and blissfully smear the day's microbial horrors into your carpet. This is not just a modern hygiene issue. Thousands of years ago, people knew your shoes were basically disease delivery devices. In ancient Japan, where homes were built with delicate tatami mats, the rule was simple: no shoes inside, because death clung to your soles. Shoes picked up more than mud. They picked up literal human waste, animal blood, and whatever questionable fluids hung around public spaces before plumbing and sanitation were invented. Want to track that into your sacred home? Didn't think so. Your house was your sanctuary. Your outside world was basically a biohazard. Removing shoes was an ancient germaphobe move before germ theory even existed. So the next time you think you're being extra by asking guests to take their Jordans off, just remember, your ancestors did it because stepping on raw sewage was a casual Tuesday. And hey, modern studies actually back this up. Scientists swabbed household floors and found up to 421,000 different bacteria living rent-free. So yeah, your nervous grandma was onto something. Basically, your floor is cleaner than a surgeon's scalpel, until you stomp your filthy Vans all over it. Number 8, ghosts hate shoes. Now imagine you're in 14th century China. You're entering someone's house, and you keep your shoes on. Well, congratulations. You just offended every spirit in the room. In many East Asian cultures, shoes were thought to carry the dirty energy of the outside world, and that wasn't just mud and feces. That was also spiritual grime, bad vibes, death energy, whatever you want to call it. The threshold of a house was seen as a literal line between chaos and harmony. Crossing it in shoes meant you dragged chaos into the one place that was supposed to be peaceful and pure. And no one wanted to deal with an angry ancestor haunting the living room because you tracked some bad luck onto the floorboards. Even today, in Japan, it's considered disrespectful to enter someone's home in shoes. Some schools even have separate indoor slippers for kids because, kids' shoes are tiny little portals of doom. So, next time you stomp into a friend's apartment and they shoot you that weird look, don't roll your eyes. They're not just being picky. They're protecting their family from vengeful ghosts. And probably from the literal filth you picked up in a Taco Bell parking lot. Basically, your Chuck Taylors are haunted. Take them off. Number 7, shoes were weapons. Here's one you didn't see coming. Historically, shoes were straight-up weapons. In many parts of the Middle East and even ancient Rome, the sole of a shoe symbolized disrespect. Why? Because your soles touch the dirtiest part of the earth. So when you barged into someone's house with your sandals on, you weren't just tracking mud. You were basically slapping them with the nastiest part of your body. And yes, shoes have literally been used as weapons of humiliation. Remember the time an Iraqi journalist threw his shoe at George W. Bush? Yeah, that wasn't just random. In that culture, showing or throwing your shoes is a huge insult, like saying you're lower than dirt. So back then, keeping shoes on indoors was like walking into someone's home, flipping them off, and then wiping your hand on their curtains. It was an act of aggression, not convenience. And when you think about it, why wouldn't people want to keep the world's ugliest, filthiest weapons outside where they belong? Your sneakers aren't just ugly, they're historically hostile. Number 6, floors were sacred. Ah yes, the floor. Humanity's favorite dining table, bed, prayer mat, and general-purpose hangout zone. Before the magic of chairs and couches took over, people sat, slept, and ate on the ground, which meant that ground had to stay clean, really clean. In India, for example, the floor was, and still is in many households, a sacred space. Many Hindu households have a designated clean area for prayer and meals, and wearing shoes in that space was like spitting in someone's soup. Even in medieval Europe, peasants who couldn't afford separate rooms still kept clean straw for sleeping and eating, which meant keeping muddy boots as far away as possible. So when you barge in with your boots caked in who knows what, you're not just messy, you're disrespecting thousands of years of cultural respect for the one surface everybody has to share. Your feet already stink. Don't let your shoes join the party. Number 5. Plagues and parasites. Now, let's talk about the charming part of human history where everyone was basically a walking petri dish. In medieval Europe, shoes were like little Trojan horses carrying fleas, lice, and all manner of tiny freeloaders. And not the cute Disney kind of fleas. We're talking plague-bearing death bugs. During outbreaks like the Black Death, anything that touched the dirty, rat-infested streets was suspect. Shoes? Oh, absolutely dripping in germs and pestilence. So households started enforcing the no shoes rule out of sheer terror of bringing disease inside. Even in less dramatic times, rural homes stayed hyper-aware of parasites. In tropical regions, shoes that trekked through mud and manure could bring hookworm eggs or other parasites into the home. These critters weren't just gross, they could literally burrow into bare feet and start eating you alive from the inside out. So you weren't just being polite by ditching your clogs at the door. You were preventing a mini biological war in your living room. In short, your shoes are still the biggest health code violation you own, right after whatever's lurking in your fridge. Number 4. Classy filth. Here's a fun fact. Back in Victorian England, leaving your shoes on indoors was considered perfectly fine if you were rich. Wealthy families had servants to clean constantly, and most of their day was spent parading around fancy drawing rooms and ballrooms, not mucking through livestock pens. So wearing shoes indoors became a weird little status symbol. But poor and working-class families? No way. Their shoes were disgusting. Coal dust, manure, dead rats, horse poop, you name it, they stepped in it. This bizarre association with wealth is why some Western cultures still think shoes inside are normal. If you have a butler scrubbing your marble floors twice a day, sure, go ahead. But if your idea of luxury is a Roomba and a bottle of Febreze, maybe think twice before stomping around the kitchen in your muddy Converse. Wearing shoes indoors doesn't make you fancy. It just makes your floor gross. Congratulations, you're tracking coal dust like a 19th century chimney sweep. Number 3. War zones and warnings. In some cultures, shoes at the door aren't just about cleanliness. They're also a subtle warning system. In parts of the Middle East and Central Asia, families would look at the shoes lined up outside to know who was inside. No shoes at the door? Probably no one home. Too many pairs? Someone might be throwing a secret meeting. Even today, this practice has an eerie utility in conflict zones. Shoes outside signal to others that the home is occupied, a sign of life in otherwise abandoned streets. It's both a custom and a quiet communication tool. So next time you're annoyed by the pile of sneakers and slippers cluttering your hallway, just remember, your ancestors used those piles to figure out who was alive, who was dead, and who might be plotting against them. And you thought they were just in the way. Number 2. The ultimate control move. Finally, and perhaps most psychologically creepy of all, making people remove their shoes is a subtle power play. When you walk into someone's house and they tell you to take your shoes off, they're asserting ownership over that space. You are being literally stripped of your armor, forced to expose your probably gross socks to the judgment of everyone else in the room. It's a way of saying, this is my domain, and you play by my rules. In fact, some psychologists argue that rituals like removing shoes help reinforce the psychological boundary between public and private. You're no longer just a guest. You're being initiated into the household's little world. So, whether you like it or not, that awkward shuffle at the door is part of a much bigger story about social dominance, boundaries, and control. Also, nobody wants to see your Dorito-dusted sneakers on their white carpet. That too. Number 1. Shoes are you. Here's the creepiest idea of all. In many ancient cultures, your shoes weren't just something you wore. They were you. In some African and Middle Eastern traditions, shoes were believed to hold the essence of the wearer. That's why stealing someone's shoes, or stepping on them, was seen as an attack on their soul. It's also why shoes were sometimes used in curses or rituals. Someone wanted to hex you? They might just swipe your sandals and bury them upside down under a tree. Boom. Bad luck delivered. Even in European folklore, leaving shoes outside upside down was thought to confuse evil spirits, who wouldn't know which way to follow you. Basically, your shoes were thought to carry your personal energy, your spirit, and all the invisible muck of your existence. That's why they didn't belong in the house. They weren't just dirty. They were too. You. So next time you see a pile of sad, mismatched sneakers at someone's door, remember, you're not just looking at footwear. You're looking at little, sweaty pieces of everyone's identity. And maybe that's the scariest thought of all. Now that you know your shoes are haunted, filthy, spiritually toxic, socially aggressive, and crawling with bacteria, are you still going to wear them on the carpet? That's what I thought. Take them off. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.